So this is a really short, sharp session. I'm going to spend only a couple of minutes going through some very simple points, and then I really actually just want you guys to get into them in groups. Then we'll come back and have a little bit of time to share your findings or your discussion from the group. So I wanted to talk about moving from online connections such as just a LinkedIn casual, you've made a connection, but you don't know the person. And these days that's very easy to do online. Most people are open to that. But how do you actually, and this is a question that I get very, very commonly when I'm working with people on networking plans, is how do you get people from that very casual, no touch contact to actually getting in front of people, whether it's through an online meeting or it's a real coffee, and actually starting to build that conversation and maybe even have a sales conversation or a career opportunity conversation. This is one of the most, as I said, one of the most commonly asked questions, because it is challenging. How do we do that elegantly and in a way that's not pressuring the other person and it's not going to put them off? So I just want to first of all run through what I would never suggest to do, and this will be contrary to what some of you may even feel, or what other people have suggested to you in the past. I would say it's not a good idea to send unsolicited direct messages on LinkedIn once you've connected with someone that you don't know, asking them to do something. So there's nothing wrong with sending a direct message to say thanks for the connection and maybe including your email signature, but it's not a good idea to straight away, before you've built any kind of trust with the person, to ask them for something, even if it's a small ask like check out my website or read this information about what I do, or answer this question, could you answer this question for me, or complete this survey. You're asking a favor of someone who you've built no trust and rapport with yet. So that can put people off very, very quickly, because they can see there's, we all know we're there to connect to do business, but you're kind of revealing this other agenda other than an interest in building a relationship if you do that. So I would suggest just a simple thank you is enough in a direct message in that initial contact. I wouldn't suggest sending a vague coffee request to someone either. I think it's important to give them a reason why they would want to meet with you and have a think through how it's going to be mutually beneficial. And I think when you can give a genuine reason that is mutually beneficial for having a coffee, you're much more likely to get that coffee or that Zoom coffee, that online meeting. And the third one is, I would say, don't send anything to their email address that you got from their LinkedIn profile after you connected, unless there is some kind of existing relationship. So maybe you met and they gave you their business card, or maybe you've had an introduction, or you've got a legitimate reason to contact them about something that is of direct importance to them, which is actually not that common. So sending something by going and finding their email address can feel intrusive to people as well. Now, I'm obviously speaking from an Australian context. We all have something to do with Australia in this group. And I think that that's kind of where the tolerance level is from what I see, particularly among professional people and business leaders. So instead, I would suggest these three things. They're a little bit of a softer, some of them are a bit of a softer approach, but they still get you the results. So the first one is to really think about playing where they play. So in other words, getting on their radar, using LinkedIn to do that. It's such a powerful tool, because you can actually, have a look at what they're talking about from their profile and the networks that they're part of there. And then you can actually connect in terms of interesting topics of mutual interest, events that you might both be attending online, etc. It starts to give you an opening, but also if you are actually engaging with some of their content, you're going to start to be on their radar. LinkedIn's going to show you up more often for them. The second one is that, and this is something I think most people don't do very well, is to actually use research as your friend. If you do some research on somebody that you want to get to know, this will actually give you pathways and clues about opportunities and ideas that you can actually engage with them on. And it will also lead to better conversations, because you'll be able to formulate questions that are specific to them and will give you a real reason to talk and to have an in-depth conversation that actually leads somewhere. So research is really important. So for example, you can find out from doing some research that you might have they might have a particular interest project or goal that you actually can genuinely help with. Perhaps you've got contacts in that space, or you have got experience with that area, or you have some ideas for them. So research is a very powerful tool to actually get to a specific conversation with someone. And finally, and this is probably the most obvious one, but I don't think people use it as their key strategy as much as they could. Introductions are the golden ticket. They are the door opener, particularly if you find that you have a mutual connection that is someone quite influential or well respected in the community or well known. So make sure that you always start with, who do I know that they know, and how can I get an introduction? I don't personally use the LinkedIn introduction tool very often. I would rather get an introduction from someone I really do know that knows that person. So I might phone them up and have a conversation and say, hey, I'm looking for an introduction to this person, or I'm looking for an introduction in this space. I know that you've got some connections. This is what I need. Could you help me out? And after a real conversation, they're much more likely to do that, especially if you follow up with a very brief email to them with 2 or 3 key points you want them to get across in the introduction. It's going to make for a much more powerful introduction for you. So some perhaps obvious tips, but things that we don't always do very well or work into our strategy. So hopefully that sort of sparks some ideas for you. And of course, because I always talk about personal branding, I would say that the baseline important thing to do is make sure that you start building trust through your personal brand positioning online. And LinkedIn is, of course, a very easy way to do that through your profile and through your thought leadership and content.
Hi everyone. I'm excited to introduce today a new package which incorporates my most requested workshops. These are around personal brand development, LinkedIn, networking strategy, and networking skills. This package is designed for professional teams who want to build the foundations with me and then run with it themselves. It involves 3 workshops, and they center around 3 different plans. The first one is a personal brand plan for each team member. The second is the thought leadership and visibility plan. And the third is the network building plan. So the idea is that a team of professional people can build these 3 areas and set themselves up for the next 12 months with 3 quick and easy workshops. After this time, I would then come in for a quarterly check-in, or of course online on Zoom with my clients who are further away. This is an opportunity to stay on track with KPIs or goals around personal branding, network building, and business growth. In these sessions, I will be checking in, revising some of the key points from the learnings in the workshops, and supporting the team generally to stay accountable and stay on track. I look forward to introducing the detail of this package, incorporating the most important elements that I teach, and look forward to working with your team in the future.